Ich setze mich dann hinter dich.
Wir haben hier noch ein Mikro und das Ding.
Oder ich öffne die Fächer mit diesem Handy.
Ja, da müssen wir leider auch das Mikro wenden. Aber das ist ja kein Set hier.
Wir haben nur ein Mikro.
Ja, aber das macht doch dann blöd, weil es bis dann halt jemand. So, ja, ich kann mit dem Mikro zu den Leuten gehen, Herr Haber.
Ja, wenn wir nachher die Diskussion öffnen, dann können wir das.
Lieber mit dem Headset oder lieber mit dem Mikro?
Ich glaube, das macht wenig Sinn, wir geben das Mikro. Lisa gibt es dann an mich.
Ja, dann arbeiten wir mit dem Mikro.
Am Mikro und ich gebe es dann an den Sprecher, der das präsentiert. Und nachher gehen wir es aufs Panel. Und ich spreche dann einfach laut.
Ja, passt.
Ach so, du meinst,
Dann würde einer von uns sich da aneinander.
wir haben ja auch noch 4 Leute, die vorne sitzen werden und sich dann Fragen stellen werden gegenseitig. Sollen wir die schon
die Hand, ich gebe es dann in
Ja,
das hier.
Dann nehmen wir das Mikro.
verstehen die dich, aber es ist natürlich dann knapp.
Ja, sonst nehmen wir halt das.
Leider.
Diese Dinger hier könnte ja wenigstens einer anziehen, ne? Oder 2.
Ja, ich meine, das müsste man dann halt hin und her reichen. Ja, macht auch nichts besser hellen.
Das geht doch. Oder einer könnte das
Ich glaube,
nehmen.
wir lassen das.
Wir lassen uns bei dem einen Mikro.
Okay. Habt ihr das mit den Folien? Ja.
So good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a good lunch and are back, and coffee break as well, and are back with a lot of power. So it's my honor to welcome you to the BMEL session today, and it's about improving food environments for better nutrition and good health. Maybe we can actually switch the presentation directly.
Wir müssen zur nächsten, zur Nummer 3.
So my name is Lisa Jeckering, and I'm here on behalf of the Federal Ministry for Food and Agriculture. I'm the person in charge of international research at the BMEL, together with my colleague Maya Clausen, who is joining virtually. So the BMEL does fund research for agriculture and nutrition. And the idea is always we're funding joint research projects between German research institutions and international research institutions. And our projects are actually very practice-oriented, so very applied. And we also, we put a lot of emphasis on participatory methods. We are promoting scientific networks and also long-term partnerships, and we are, with our instruments, we are facilitating actually knowledge exchange. I also want to thank my colleagues from the BLE, who's our our executing agency and project management for this instrument. So I just want to give you, before we jump into the very exciting presentations we're going to have, a short overview about the different funding calls we had in the past. So I think some of you may be aware that we had a funding cycle where we had research calls in 2013, 16, and 19. Most of them, which is very important to us, they all somehow have a focus on nutrition. The second one is then started in 2022 and was about innovative sustainable food systems. What I boxed here is very important for today because it's the projects we funded in the 2019 call we are listening to today. But I also wanted to give you a short advertisement on the call which is actually open at the moment. It's a 2024 call, and it's about agroecological innovations. If you haven't seen it yet, you can still apply. It's open until 30th of September, so you still have 2 weeks left. All information can be found on the website of the BLE. So now let's talk about the very great topic we are having today, which is about food environments. I think I don't need to mention that this topic is very important because we know that the numbers actually unfortunately increase again for hunger and malnutrition. We also know that the current food systems often fail to provide healthy and sustainable food for all. And we also know that the triple burden of malnutrition is very prevalent in almost all areas of the world. Of course, one driver is also the increasing accessibility of ultra-processed foods. I just want to mention it here because we're also going to have one project that is looking into the physical activities that are very important to also fight the triple burden, of course. So for this call, we had research projects that were actually looking at different questions. One question was more, let's understand the consumer dietary habits and choices, because it's very important in order to give policy recommendations that can change the food environments. Also, some projects looked at the influence of consumers' nutritional and health status. We also looked at different policy recommendations actually that can shape the food environments. We are very happy that today we already have some lessons available from our projects that were funded. And I will quickly introduce the projects to you before I hand over to my colleague, Siegfried Harrer. So the first project, I'm very happy and I welcome the NutriAid team. Please raise your hands. We are very excited to listen to your presentation because the team developed an application in India, which is actually tracking the food choices of urban consumers, which is, I think, very exciting. Then let's welcome the FOCO Active team, which is a huge group, I learned today. You're welcome. So this team is looking at the triple burden of malnutrition actually in Tanzania, and they also have this component on physical activities, which is also very exciting. And last but not least, the Navinat project. Welcome. The Navinat project is also a collaboration between German universities, Benin and Kenya. And it's very important because it's looking at the women's agency and the importance of women in food systems and how they are actually very important agents for change if we talk about food environments. So I want to stop talking and I wish you all a very exciting session today, and I pass over to my colleague, Siegfried Harrer.
Thank you, Lisa, also for the opening statement and a warm welcome to all of those who will be here in our session. I will just give you now a brief overview on what's ahead of us, just a brief look in the agenda. Maybe I shall start. After the open, just here are lots of things. Only shy, there's nice places here. After the brief introduction from Lisa, we will have the presentation of 3 research projects on food environments. The presentations will focus on the interface between health and nutrition. Each of the presentations will about 10 to 15 minutes. The presenters will report on their experience and findings and key messages, highlighting successes and problems in making contribution to improved nutrition. After that, we will start with a panel discussion. The presenters will also be here on the panel, and we will start with a discussion on the panel. And after a few rounds of questions on the panel, we will open up the discussion to you, and you from the audience are encouraged to ask questions or to come up with your ideas on that. And around 5:15, we will have to close and leave you for other presentations. So after that, I think there are no questions now. I would like to introduce our first presenter. The first presenter is Merle Müller-Hansen. Merle is a researcher with a focus on agriculture and food studies at the University of Augsburg, and she's doing her PhD in the Nutriate project located in India. The project is building on smart food environments for improved nutrition via an application app. And she will now share her experience and her findings from the project. And I see you are
Professor Markus.
yeah, okay, sorry, Markus. You will start with Markus, or?
Yeah, I would just say a few words.
Okay, no problem. So
Even though I'm not Merle, but I will hand it over directly.
I will hand over directly to you, so you can start and then pass over.
Sorry.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. As I said, I would just like to say warm welcome from our side. I'm the speaker of the project Nutriate, Building Smart Food Environments for Improved Nutrition. And as you have heard, we have an exciting project here. It's interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary as well. So there are a couple of people involved. First of all, the National Institute of Nutrition based in Hyderabad, India. Then the German Institute for Nutrition in Potsdam, the Wuppertal Institute, and there is a software development corporation called Calvary Wellness Solutions. And together we have quite a task behind us and also in front of us. So we wanted to conduct field research, first of all. Second of all, we wanted to develop an app which is functional at the end of the project. And last but not least, we wanted to test the app and find out whether it has an effect on society, on the consumers, on the users itself. So we started with qualitative research, and Merle will talk about that in a bit. We developed the app and tested it in the first round, and at the moment we are in a second testing phase. We can talk about that later on. And we also conducted a larger standardized survey, which we are currently analyzing. At the moment, as I said, we had to readjust a little bit the entire project because of several reasons. We will talk about that later. But nevertheless, we are on track, and Merle will now talk about what we have found out and what we have developed. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will dive directly into the empirical part here and go by the phases of the project that Markus kindly introduced. So these are findings mainly from India, but also some of the findings are based on complementary ethnographic and qualitative research in Mexico. And this preliminary research on food practices showed that there are two main themes that we identified. The first of them is outside foods, which is an empirical term, so a popular expression in India. And young people in India increasingly consume outside foods through digital platforms such as Zomato and Swiggy. Both of them are displayed here. They are the most popular food delivery platforms in India at the moment. And by doing this, people express an aspiration to lead a consumer lifestyle that signifies high social status. So this is for the younger generations. For the older generations, there's actually a little bit of friction going on because what we found is that there's an equation between the terms wealth, health, and physical chubbiness. So this is what we put together then in the wealthy, healthy, chubby nexus. Yeah, it sounds a little bit funny, but actually there is a lot of effect in these terms, and people thus try to also through this nexus then in the older generation express their social status. So we conceive of outside foods and wealthy, healthy, chubby as two contradicting teleoaffective formations that lead to intergenerational friction over dietary and bodily ideals in some way in these two contexts of low and middle income countries. Now to the next step of our study, what I think you are actually maybe more interested in, which is the development of the app. First, we tried to develop a very comprehensive app version to integrate the functions of many nutrition and health-oriented apps that are currently out there in this jungle of apps. And this was then done by creating three main pages: the Mind page, the Map page, and the Move page. The Mind page was kind of the way into the app, and it is there for tracking eating habits and emotions. So you can use the smartphone, the camera vision tool of the smartphone, which is AI powered to scan any kind of foods. It can be cooked foods. It can also be packaged foods and drinks. And then the app will automatically show you the nutritional values and also the food groups. And then keep kind of an AI-powered nutrition diary for you. The Map page was supposed to help find food vendors that are more sustainable and more healthy. And especially as opposed to such popular apps like Google Maps, also for informal vendors. So informal vendors could create their own vendor profile and share their live location. So it would be more easy to find those options of mobile fruit and vegetable vendors in the street in India. Then the last page, the Move one, it's not only about like tracking the steps, which pretty much every smartphone nowadays does anyways, but it's actually about moving your city and your community. So there were many gamified elements in this part to get in touch with people who are kind of on the same journey of finding a more healthy and more sustainable nutrition. The main study then, we conducted a statistical analysis with 730 participants, and in a two-step cluster analysis, we found 6 socio-demographic clusters. And as you can see here, from a geographical perspective, it was very important and interesting to us to link the activity spaces of people, so how they move through the city, to their food consumption, and especially in the food consumption here, the CO2 footprint. And the ones that kind of are most salient here are the the ones of the students and the working parents, which have a higher footprint, and the young professionals and retirees, homemakers and freelancers who have a smaller footprint. So this is quantitative data. It's showing actually kind of not so high values overall if you compare it, for example, with the average German diet. But however, what is very interesting to us here is linking these data now to qualitative data and creating so-called deep maps. I hope this moves now, yes. So we put this into 3D space, and what you see here is the movement of one person, like an ideal type of one of the statistical clusters, moving not only through the space, which is shown here by the little squares, but also through time. So where the line goes up, this is the time line. And in the end, it kind of goes up there in a very straight manner, because at night, usually we stay then at home, and at some point we sleep. So this is what you see here. Then in the next step, we integrated the nutritional data into those deep maps. And we tried to do this by exploring a new visualization method and inflating this time-space line at the times of food consumption. We decided to inflate it because it really gives a sense of the CO2 equivalent, which is about gases. So our aim is not to show like there's 200 grams of difference in the food consumption between an apple and a pear, for example, but to really show the impact on a time and space scale. And here it's all about very low impacts. So it's green bubbles. In other cases, they would become orange or red. So in the end, this is a tool for data triangulation, analysis, and visualization. And it might become at some point a powerful tool for science communication. It's still in the process, so we are still integrating more qualitative data at the moment. And to continue now with the survey results, we found that overall, there's a high smartphone dependence. So people do use their cell phones a lot for getting information on nutrition. The apps that are mostly used in India are YouTube, Google Maps, Instagram, Swiggy, and Zomato. And people use it mostly for finding foods, recipes, for health advice, fitness advice, for general tracking also. And the desired effects that they want to get from those apps are health improvement, gaining knowledge about health, and also weight management. So maybe some of you might be thinking, wait, YouTube, Google Maps for those kind of desired effects, there's a disconnect, no? So this is what we also thought, and why we tried to first create this comprehensive app. But as you will see now, actually, it was kind of hard to use for people. So we had a high dropout rate from this first attempt of creating a comprehensive app. And what we did now, or what we are in the process of doing, is to really reduce this app and first create an app that is only going for the first part, for the mind part of the Nutri8 project. So we are really focusing now on the Nutri8 database. Here we integrated the My Plate for the Day by the National Institute of Nutrition with the Eat Lancet Commission's Planetary Health Diet. And through scanning then the foods, we created a more visual board also of the different food groups that you're consuming. So you can see when you're in the yellow range here, you have not consumed, for example, enough vegetables for the day. When you are in the green range, you have already consumed enough. And when you get into the red range, you're over your daily limit. And this is really meant for transmitting a feeling for food groups now. So not about the accuracy or the not so accurate accuracy of CO2 footprints, but really for nudging a healthy and sustainable food choice through the messaging of balanced diets with customized ranges. And with this, I will hand back over to Markus Keck to tell us some of the preliminary conclusions and learnings of this project.
Thank you very much. So, as you see, we did quite a lot of things. So what we actually wanted to do is to create an app which is definitely different from the apps that are available on the market, which are basically serving a self-quantifying purpose. So with our app, we wanted to show that it's more about food diversity instead of calories and CO2 emissions and so on. But we also learned that every way or each time you quantify something, you have to take care to not only do the calculations right, but also to take care of whom you are addressing with this app. Because our survey data shows that not only is overweight a problem in India, but also underweight. And so you have to really take care what you recommend in order not to increase problems that you actually want to fight against. Second of all, we found that the food environment in India is very rapidly changing, is highly dynamic, and another published or is going to publish quite a number of papers on that. So the digitalization of the food environment is changing here a lot, which has, for example, an effect on gender roles at home and also on the way through the city. Third of all, we saw that, okay, we were at the beginning maybe a bit too ambitious in terms of the intervention that we plan to do. Our basic idea was we come up with an app, we give it out to the people, and then we see how it works. And it turned out that we have to take care more about explaining the app, reducing the functions until it works. And then now we will test the effects of people using the app. And if this is shown, then we can enlarge the app again. And last but not least, you saw these nice GPS data circling around. We think this is actually a quite a good way of visualizing data, spatial data, nutrition-related data, and data over time. And if you overlap such kind of GPS ways, you can, for example, identify places and times in a city where a lot of unsustainable food consumption takes place, which is obviously, for instance, I mean, in my case, it was when I went out and around 2 a.m. in the morning, I got hungry. So I did not care really about my footprint. So there you go. And we think that such kind of new ways of visualizing can do a good job here to somehow deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you. Very exciting, very rich presentation. I very much like the multidimensional way you presented your figures, and I realized that I'm in yellow with regards to vegetables and fruits today, so I will work to make it more green. Thank you for that hint today. So I can imagine that you will have a lot of questions for the two colleagues. Please keep them in mind. We will have enough time in the last part of the session to review with that. So the next team now will be Victoria Cariapi and Masabile Charles. Victoria is specialized in human nutrition at the Department of Human Nutrition and Consumer Science of Sokoine University of Agriculture in Tanzania. She is also a researcher in nutrition training at Tanzanian Food and Nutrition Center. And Msabile is assistant lecturer at the University of Dar es Salaam, Department of Physical Education and Sport Science. He is also a swimming coach in sport, specialized in sport nutrition and principles of training methods. They are both doing their PhD in the FOCO Active project in Tanzania. And they will explain in a minute what FOCO Active stands for. So, Victoria, Msabile, the floor is yours. Who will start? So,
Good
thank you.
evening. Yeah, as I was introduced, I'm Victoria, and together with my friend, we are going to present FOCOActive project. FOCOActive is abbreviation standing for food, consumption, and active with the part of physical activity. And you can see above there, we have the picture of the plate with fork and knife. That the plate, the person is running, meaning activity, physical activity, and the plate has food. So FOCOActive project is aiming at improving food consumption and physical activity to tackle triple burden of malnutrition in Tanzania. Tanzania, like many other developing countries, is facing triple burden of malnutrition with rapid increase in overweight and obesity, especially among women of reproductive age. We didn't have information on nutritional statistics for men, but recently we have the higher percent, like 17% of women are overweight or obese. And FOCOActive project is aiming at assessing nutrition status, physical activity, and also fitness level in rural and urban Tanzania. Then after getting the information on the assessment of nutritional status and physical activity, it aims also to design intervention, because for us, we are expertise from different disciplines. So we want to design intervention to improve both food and physical activity environment. The study used mixed method approach. That means we use both quantitative and qualitative data collection so that we can get the depth of the information in both rural and urban Tanzania. At the beginning, in year one, we started stakeholders mapping, and here we engage various people from the ministry to local government. Then we conducted baseline survey, which was done last year in February. We collected information in both dietary intake and physical activities, food environments, health and food literacy, and we also measured fitness testing to measure people's strength. After getting baseline results, we designed together innovation like intervention, where we did participatory approach in implementation and designing this intervention. So we had training and other interventions which will be explained more later. Then now we are at monitoring stage. We are monitoring the intervention at both field areas in rural and urban Tanzania, and we are at that stage for most of the intervention. We expect to end these monitoring processes at the end of this year. Next year in February, we are expecting to conduct endpoint survey, which will assess the same indicators which were also assessed in the baseline survey. To add more, this study was done in Dar es Salaam, which is the urban area in Ilala district, and also in Pwani region at Mkuranga district, representing rural. Our population sample were household members from mother and father, but we have school child. So the endpoint was a school child, then the parents were engaged in the FOCOActive activities. Now I'll introduce to you some of the results for adult population from our baseline survey. We measured body mass index, and the mean body mass index was 25, which is higher, and the mean BMI was significantly higher among female compared to male. You can see the distribution of body mass index across districts, and there is higher prevalence of overweight and obesity in urban cohort as you compare to rural cohort. In rural areas, we have significantly higher underweight individuals compared to urban areas.
And then you can see the next graph, which represents the BMI across gender. And more than 50% of women were overweight or obese. Furthermore, my friend will introduce to you to some of the information on physical activities.
Thank you very much, Victoria. So as she mentioned the area that to intervene to tackle the triple burden of malnutrition, we need to integrate food, nutrition, and physical activity. So during baseline, we assess the physical activity of the participant just to understand the status quo of their physical activity as well as their compliance to WHO recommendations of physical activity. Actually, WHO recommends individual or adult to be participating in physical activity at amount of 2.5 hours per week or 150 minutes per week. So we assess the physical activity of the participant, and the result showing the participant comply to WHO recommendations of 2 hours, 0.5 per week or 100 minutes and 50 per week. So we went further to see the differences, and we saw significant differences across urban and rural, especially in vigorous physical activity. So a comparative analysis of physical activity at work and leisure time, we saw there is a difference between urban and rural, where rural participants spend more time during working hours, engaging in vigorous physical activity than urban participants. As we can see the result here, per week, the rural participants spend 24 hours in vigorous activities at work, and the urban participants spend 14 hours per week in vigorous activities at work. But during leisure time, it's the other way around, that you can find the rural participants, they spend less time than urban participants. Urban participants spend more time in leisure time, during leisure time in vigorous activities than rural participants. So apart from assessing the physical activities of people, we went far to assess their physical fitness. And in the physical fitness, we assessed 2 components. The first component was the cardiovascular endurance, and the second component was the muscular strength. During assessing cardiovascular endurance, we used the shuttle run test, which is one of the validated tests of measuring maximum oxygen uptake in people. So in this assessment, there was also significant difference between urban and rural. Rural participants were more fit or had high maximum oxygen uptake than urban participants. Taking an example of the group under 30 years old, in male group, you can see rural participants had a maximum oxygen uptake of 42, while urban participants had 37.4 VO2 max or maximum oxygen uptake. If you go to the same age category in the male group, you will also find a rural participant had 30.6 VO2 max, while urban participants had 27. So, and this difference was statistically significant. So, next will be food literacy level by gender and residence. I now welcome again my fellow PhD student to present to you the results.
Thank you, Charles. And here we said we collected information on the food literacy. We used Likert scale to collect this information, and then we categorized food literacy in 3 levels. Food literacy means the ability of an individual to use knowledge and skills to make informed food choice for health benefit. So we had 3 categories of food literacy: limited, sufficient, and excellent. And you can see from the graph, in both cases, limited food illiteracy was higher. And the mean food illiteracy was significantly higher in urban areas and also in male participants. And in Tanzania, females are the ones who are in charge of food at household level. But in this case, you can see male participants have higher food illiteracy level compared to female. So this might be a problem which also can cause lack of dietary diversity at household level. Then we found out that the people with there was significant higher food illiteracy in the individuals with obesity. At first, we thought that a person who has food illiteracy maybe can have normal weight because he will be able to observe all dietary issues. But for our result, we can see those with higher food illiteracy have also obese. So this can tell us something as we go on. This might be attributed to food environments where we have seen also urban participants take more energy in terms of kilocalories compared to rural areas, and also socioeconomic factors. So we compared food illiteracy with BMI, and furthermore, we conducted stepwise regression analysis to find predictors of body mass index. We had various variables, including socioeconomic status, fitness, and setting, gender, and health literacy. Our results found that fitness level and socioeconomic status are the best predictors for body mass index. That's why we are together with people from physical activities and nutrition so that we can help each other to attain the good nutritional status of individuals. After getting all these results, we developed the interventions. Our main intervention was health literacy program, which is educational program, and we had component of physical activities, food illiteracy, health literacy, food environment, and food production. To support that intervention, also we had small interventions on improving food environment, which are nutrition upscaling center, grain amaranth intervention, and vegetable production and processing intervention. On improving sports and physical activity environment, we had sport bonanzas, sport groups, and physical activity facilities. We also had media campaigns which promote food consumption, healthier food consumption, and physical activity. My friends will continue more to give you the details of these interventions.
Thank you, Victoria. So as my colleague mentioned before, we had our main intervention was health literacy program. To implement this intervention, we first selected and trained the trainers so that they later help or assist the project to train other participants and some other members in the community. So the training involved both theory and practical part. And at the end of the training, we provided the books, the guidebooks to the multipliers, and we divided the participants into smaller groups which were trained by these multipliers or trainers. And the books contained the listed topics which were listed here. I cannot mention them because they are like 9 topics, but you can just find there. We can explain more in the questions when it comes time to questions or discussions. So other interventions, as we said, we had other interventions. The other intervention, one of them was we established the Nutrition Upscaling Center. This was an educational facility where the community is being trained at, and this also is serving as a physical marketplace for the production of the vegetables. We also introduced the production of African indigenous vegetables through pocket gardening, as you can see here, and the flat garden. Both parents, children, and teachers at school were trained how to produce these vegetables at lowest cost and as easy as possible, as you can see here. We also introduced the production of grain amaranth. The aim was to maximize the micronutrient and the plant-based proteins in the society to tackle the triple burden of malnutrition. Furthermore, in sports, we supplied physical activity equipment, we modified sports facilities, especially in the rural, where we found one of the school had not even a single facility for sports. So we had to improvise to use the open space to put the goalpost to make the football pitch and netball pitch, so that to engage the children and the parents in sports in the village. So as you can see, we went further, we trained the society or the community participants, various physical activity in different settings. These settings were such as transport, during leisure time, at home and at work. So other intervention included the use of posters. We used the slogans, healthy lifestyle slogans, which we put in the posters and we put on the public transport to raise the awareness in the society. You can see here, this is tuk-tuk with one of the public transport in Tanzania. And here you will see people are physically active. And here we will see the food, which is a health plate. You can also see here, we used the same slogans to print on various kits, a marathon kit, which were organized both in urban and rural areas. And these are people participating in the marathon. If you see their kits, they were printed healthy lifestyle slogans. This was aiming to motivate the people to engage in physical activity and change their lifestyle into a healthy lifestyle. So we also use the farmers exhibition in Tanzania. There is always a farmers exhibition once per year. So we went there and created awareness in the people through this event. Also, we just use the media such as radio sessions, and we just opened the Instagram account, Twitter, now known as X. Also, we had we have a website. They are all written for active. This all is to change the mindset of the people or the participant to turn their life into a healthy lifestyle through nutrition and physical activity. So we learn a lot of lessons, and these are among of them. Firstly, we learned that there is a severe prevalence of overweight and obesity, especially among female and in urban areas. We also learned that food and health literacy is higher in people with overweight and obesity. This is actually opposite of what we expected, but this is what we can see there. But through the intervention we are going on in Tanzania, we are expecting in any point survey next year to have different results of this. So we also found that cultural and infrastructure reasons are the barriers for physical activity, especially in the rural area where the infrastructure was not good, and also the culture limits participation, especially the women group, into physical activity. We also learned that modification of local food environment, especially production of African indigenous vegetables through pocket garden and flat garden, also grain amaranth. People were very interested and they adapted it very well, and now they keep practice what they learn from the training. We also learned that the curriculum or the health literacy program that we developed and teach the society was well accepted and was perceived as very helpful among people across urban and the rural areas. So until there is the end of our presentation, and I would like to thank you. Asante sana, Dankeschön.
Thank you both for this really rich presentation. And yes, it's really difficult if you have so many exciting results to present them all in a very short time. And at least I can confirm one of your results. I'm very interested, and I think I also have knowledge in food and nutrition. And look at me, I still can't manage my body mass index. So I just can confirm one of your results. So thank you again, and see you soon on the panel. So last but definitely not least, we will hear the presentation from George Choi. George is rural sociologist and social anthropologist, and he studied agricultural economics and world sociology at the University of Parakou in Benin, and he holds a PhD in social anthropology from the University in Göttingen in Germany. He will present his first findings of the Nabina project in Benin. George, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for involving me in this session. And I'm really happy to present on behalf of the larger team of Nabinot. So I'm not alone. Behind me, you have a strong and powerful troop. So I'm representing the Nabinot project, and this project is coordinated by Professor Brigitte Kaufmann. She's not with us today, but we closely prepared this presentation. And I really want to share with you a kind of a traditional, transdisciplinary research experience that we carried out in Northern Benin. And this presentation will focus on the women-led food co-development process. And then at the end, I will draw some of the key lessons that we learned from the process. So Nabinot means enhancing women agency in navigating changing food environment to improve child nutrition in African parents. It's a collaborative research that involves partners from Kenya and Benin, and also in Germany. And it's a project that aims at really three things. The first thing is that we really want to understand, have a deep understanding of the full complexity of the mechanism of women decision-making regarding child feeding. The second point is to really contribute to kind of improve the navigability of this rapidly changing food environment by increasing the accessibility and the attractiveness also of the locally available nutrition traditional foods. And when we understand the decision-making rationale and also make local food resources available, we want to use it as an opportunity to develop a dialogue model that is more respectful of a local reality, but also open room for women learning about child nutrition. So as I said, it's a transdisciplinary research, meaning that we partner from different backgrounds. You have rural sociologists, nutrition scientists, food technologists, you have ecologists, you have agricultural economics. So we together collaborate with the societal actors, especially mother of children in this case, to identify the local solution they are already trying to, in the local context, to co-develop it, to test it, and also to improve it in a way that the food environment is more accessible, is more navigable for the women. And this will be used for the community health services and so on. So the project was implemented in northern part of Benin, which is known as an area affected by the child malnutrition. So what did we do? We enter into the field by starting with social science research methods. It's like ethnographic research, asking questions, open-ended interviews. But quickly we realized that there were so many people who wanted to talk about the topic. And so we realized that, okay, then instead of going from households and asking questions, then let us bring people together to talk about the issue. So together with the community, we organized what we call the traditional food fair. We identify some women from different groups and brought them together. We went to the community, and some of the women groups selected the representative. So they were asked to identify the traditional food and identity food that are meaningful for them, and also can also be used for two purposes. One is to contribute to fight malnutrition, and the second point is to also create income-generating activity for women. So they came to the meeting, to the fair, with different products, and scientists, extension services, health workers, traditional authority, customary leaders, everybody, we gathered and we discussed those foods. So they were explaining the meaning of those foods, what is the importance for the society in terms of identity, in terms of, feeding the children and so forth. So you can realize that, we use this traditional fair as an entry point, and it's become a springboard to bring together communities that were hostile to each other. You know well about farmer-headed issue in Africa. So there were communities very hostile to each other in the past. So we use this traditional food fair as an opportunity to bring them together to talk about common issue and also societal problem, which is here to fight against malnutrition. When we use this traditional fair, then we selected the through the knowledge of the community, we saw what are the most important traditional foods, and then we selected them as a priority traditional food. And we went to the lab through my colleagues in food science, and we checked, some laboratory analysis, and we realized the deficiency on some of those traditional food. And quickly with the community, through community consultation workshop, then we identified the local ingredients that were available in the area that can be used to improve those traditional food. And you can see here, we have moringa leaves, for example, that became very important. The dawa powder, what we call in French nere, or Pachyia biglobosa scientific name. You have the baobab powder and other local ingredients that the community considered could contribute in improving, providing vitamin and mineral supplements. So here, what we learn at this level is like community where by bringing them together, they were complementing each other in terms of knowledge. Fulani people living in the bush, having more knowledge of some of the local ingredients. We were really surprised sometimes that Fulani women were able to tell, if you consider a particular area, they can tell you the number of trees that are in those areas. But, we are also in a context where cotton production is well developed. So Bariba community, farmer community, they were lacking knowledge on some of the elements. So by bringing those communities together, they can complement each other, sharing information on those particular ingredients that can be used to improve the food. So then we went to the step of fortification of this traditional food by using those local ingredients that I just presented. And then you can see that, women were really keen, really engaged in this process. So at the end, we end up for efficiency reasons, because we started with 42, and then we divided into 10 per site. We have 2 sites, and then at the end, we find that we will not be able to develop all those foods in the time that we have. Then let's be really efficient, and we started the co-development of 2 traditional food per site. Papano, which is a porridge, an identity porridge well known for the Bariba community, and also the Wagaro, which is a stew, which is well appreciated in the area. We have Bori Lamuni, which is a traditional Fulani porridge, which is fermented porridge, and we have Kaladia Furija, a sweet that's well appreciated within the community. So when we co-develop the food, then we say, if we want to put it in the market and create income generating activity for women, let's work on things that can make it really accessible, or have another look on the market. And then we engage women in the kind of, identification of materials and symbols, that can really show the work we have done together. And through the dozens of material that they brought, they finally agree on 2 different elements. You can see here that you have the 3 supported spots, which was brought by the women to show that, what we are doing is a kind of complementarity and solidarity. And this was really rooted in the community, not only in terms of sharing information, but also creates knowledge, providing, support in terms of health services. Everybody, there is no single solution for them in the area. Everybody has something to share, and bringing everybody together will also contribute to provide something that is more sustainable in the area. You also have the hele here, which is this goat or calabash ball, which is well developed in the Fulani community, but you can also see the more ancient traditional farmer communities. which is also have the meaning of providing service to the society or to humanity. So bringing those elements together, we were able through support from a designer, graphic designer that we brought into the field. Women share their different color through their veils, their clothes, their beauty accessories. They say, oh no, we don't want this color, we'll change this one. So discussing the position of different things, they wanted really their pride and also the knowledge that they share together to be represented through the logos and also the packaging materials. And you could see here, it was really tough. We spent months on this activity, for example. So, but finally we got here where you can see that women in the area, they asked the project to use the name Nabinos of the project as a sign, as a brand of solidarity, mutual learning, showing, this interaction that we have throughout the year to also, through this, and we can see that the different package, labels were also developed and well accepted. So far, you can see that if you go to the research area, you see that those foods are now well developed and spread and sold on the local market. So at one of the meetings, women were so proud of what we achieved, and we had our partner meeting last year at the beginning of 2023, and they asked us if we can provide some resources to them to share what they have learned throughout the process to the larger community. So this was not really planned in our project, but we were really proud through the support of BLA to support them. And as you can see here, they engage in peer-to-peer learning education, where they can organize awareness session, awareness raising session at community level, or cooking demonstration. And we were able to reach above 2,700 child mothers through this program. And 300 of them were closely backstopped to also serve as a relay for the program to reach further people. You also see that they organize, radio program to display and share through the local community radio or the achievement of the project. And what is really interesting here is like the community radio are benefiting from support to streamline some of the program broadcasts through the internet. So you see that the diaspora of the two sides are hearing this project through the different cities of the country. They are calling us now to comment and to ask to buy the different product that has been developed. So we can see that peer-to-peer learning and radio program has contributed somehow to strengthen the mutual learning and the reciprocal understanding between different communities. And one interesting aspect of it is also the social cohesion that has really created among the Fulani. And so very quickly, the key lesson that we learned is that through this process, we were able really to add value and credibility to the traditional food that were somehow abandoned in the area. We also realized that women are very keen, very proud now to use this as an activity. And some who were not directly involved in the project but learned through the radio and peer-to-peer learning asked us to use also the material to make their own business out of it. We also realized that women have become very self-confident. And what is really interesting is that in the local area, they are also using, this achievement to lobby the municipality to become part of the, food focal point process in the area. And also they ask the mayor to give them the opportunity to also be part of the supplier of the school canteen in the area through those traditional foods. Great, social recognition. We can say that, it was very difficult at the beginning, but quickly we realized that through joint planification, joint planning of the activity, that men were also really interested in the area, and they became the relay of sharing this information through the local market when they sit down to talk about the pride of their wife developing the area. Community dialogue, of course, this information, these have been used by what we call the GWIPS in our country, is the social promotion center by the government, which is also including those foods in the program for health program. And as I said, we have really conflict prevention, conflict management aspect of it. It's like community are coming closer. And when there is conflict arising, for example, among the people, women having been collaborating for years, they call upon each other and say, okay, please come and help me to solve this problem. And so we have been realizing that, this is bringing more people together. And So, yeah, thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much, George. Very amazing results, and I really like very much your participatory and bottom-up approach, and it's amazing what can be achieved with that. Thank you again for that. Just stay here. I would like now to invite all the other presenters and speakers to join me here on the stage and start with the panel discussion. So just take a seat here. I don't know if it's dangerous or comfortable, but try your luck. Well, I mentioned it was very exciting and interesting for you to hear from the other presentations. And given that you are researching in let's say, the same area, but in a different focus, I can imagine that you have questions to each other. And since you, George, had the possibility to first watch the presentations from the others, maybe you can start with what kind of questions came into your mind and whom you want to address them, if I may ask you first.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate the presentation and the great work you have done. And when I was listening to your presentation, I could realize, the importance of, this app, technological tools that are becoming more important in dealing with food and food environment. But as you could see, I'm more on social science aspects, interacting directly with the communities. And I really want to know if there is a room for the local community you are working with to challenge somehow your approach to this app, bringing their own perspective into the app you are developing. And also, for example, related to that, if there is any way they can also use directly those apps in the local languages, for example, to communicate easily and to understand what you are doing.
Thank you for this great question. And also, I'm very humbled by the other presentations and the community work that you're doing. I just want to quickly put that in there. And to answer your question, we have two teams in India. As Marcus presented in the beginning, one of the teams is a team of nutritionists in Hyderabad, and another team is the one of the app developers in Chandigarh, and they also participated in designing the architecture of the app, and the app was then programmed by mostly Sikh people in Chandigarh in the north of India. And we also did some testing, for example, with the app now. Just 3 weeks ago, I came back from doing some focus groups in Chandigarh. So we try to also take into account the knowledge and how the app is perceived in India as far as it is possible. And it is developed also by people and with the aesthetics also from the place. So that is there. And also another point is that for us, it was very important that the training of the app, that it is carried out in India, because only 3% of the AI databases that are based on images comes from the global south. So there's a lot of room for improvement, I think. And this fits into the whole dialogue of data colonialism. So I think maybe just that. I don't know if Marcus wants to add something.
Yeah, maybe just the word that nowadays the app is only working in English. So I'm bringing in the bad news here at this point at the moment. But we will test this version with urban middle class consumers who speak English as an everyday language. And if it works, then we can maybe have a translation in Telugu, for instance, for that.
Since you already have the mic, so maybe you can ask a question to one of your colleagues, or also you, of course, Marcus. What came into your mind while watching and hearing this exciting presentation?
Yes, actually, a question mark stayed in my head for the both of you, for Victoria and Misela. Sabila.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I was wondering, you presented like those two ways that you were trying to follow. So the practical path with applied sports and the knowledge path, like kind of following this paradigm of if they only knew, they could maybe act in a different way. And I was wondering between those two extremes, which were maybe some of the more grounded strategies in the Tanzanian context, which you found the most useful in your project?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that nice question. At first, when we are starting the project, the knowledge, the practical part was more grounded in Tanzania in terms of physical activities. So people were just practicing whatever they were told, but they lack knowledge. But as we continue to search for information and analyze the data and work with the community, we found out practical only cannot improve whatever people they are doing, and knowledge also is important. In Tanzania, knowledge was provided more on nutrition perspective. So now, combining both practical aspects and also knowledge, it makes people understand whatever they are doing. Because most of the percentage of the people, even in rural areas, cannot even read and write. So if you give them information and practical information also, it will make them practice and understand the impact of whatever they are doing. So both practical and knowledge is important. Maybe my friend can help me.
I think that what was in my mind.
Okay, maybe if you have the mic in the Victoria, so what's your question to the colleagues of one of the team here, if you have any?
Yes, I have a question. I like my colleague presenting about complementary foods in community level, and I like the diversity of that food, and it's local, so I believe it's acceptable. What I wanted to know more, you said you did lab analysis. I want to understand what kind of analysis you did, and if you have any monitoring processes, because it's like women are already taking the chance to make the product. Do you do anything on quality assurance or monitoring anything? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The first point is that I'm not expert of that, but it's like, you know, as we are working together, I learned more about what my colleagues on food science were doing. So in terms of, as far as lab analysis were concerned, I think they did a lot of things. For example, I remember that they have everything related to the nutritive value of the food were checked, were tested, like things related to protein, fat, carbohydrates, fiber, things like that, energy, all those analyses were made, but also for the vitamin and mineral aspect of it, they were also concerned about vitamin A, for example, vitamin C, and zinc, and copper, and iron. You know, all are the basic things that are required for child nutrition, and I'm sure that some were the mineral recommended at the high level for child nutrition, child feeding, so they were really concerned about that. But also, as far as food security is concerned, they also did some aflatoxin testing. Let's say what to consider as a total viable counts, everything related to microorganisms. They did some of those things and to be sure that the consumer are not affected by the food. But related, the second question is also about food quality. We can see that our strategy was on 3 pillars. You know, we want to make women also responsible of the food they are producing. So they are first responsible of the food they are producing, so that it has to be of good quality. And together we develop some guidelines of good practices, child feeding, cooking practices that we translated into local languages that they can also use in their daily activities. And the second level of quality check is related to the community. As we are working in a multi-stakeholder environment, we, for example, associated, what we call GRIPS in our context is a social promotion center. We also have some focal point at the municipal level who are responsible of that. And then at the third level, then we rely more on what is called Benin Food Safety Agency, which is a kind of the Bureau of Standards, and to check and see if what we are producing and selling on the market is of good quality. So yes, so far this is what we have been doing.
Thank you, great plans. Colleagues, the time has come now for your questions. So since we have only one mic and we have to organize, so we'll have a round and collect, let's say, 3 questions per round. So 1, 2, 3. 2. Another one. 3. And then I will start another one. So number 1. Sorry.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll do just that. My name is Peter Sariniama. I'm from the Center for Development Research, University of Bonn. My question goes to Georges. I enjoyed your presentation.
One question is, after the end of the project, since this is a project based, and when I look at the pictures in the ground, who is going to be pretty much of this production process after the end of the project, and how will you sustain that? Thank you.
So maybe we can just go to first collect the 3 questions, if you can keep it in mind, and then we will bring back the mic to the panel. Number 2, that's over there. And here was number 3.
Thank you. I have questions related to the new GA program. Actually, 2 questions possible. One is also related to the sustainability of the app. So who's going to pay for the app after the project is finished? And the second question is that, like, I assume it is a smartphone-based app. And I just wonder, how about people who are not accessing to smartphone or internet? Is there any possibility that they can benefit from a lot of information developed by the app? Thanks.
Second part would be very helpful for the next.
My name is Ferdinand Dubarco from the University of Mannheim. First, I would like to comment BMEL and BME for this super strategic funding that you have provided, because these are really impactful and have impact on society. My question is to Navinat, since everybody is starting. And the question is with market demand for your produce. Maybe it's a bit too early to speak a bit too detailed into market demand, but then for your kind of product, what kind of markets are you targeting? I would imagine you will be identifying territorial markets, and you already mentioned spreading your product through the mayor, into schools, and all of that. Have you thought of expanding this market base? Have you also thought of looking into export markets potentially, because your initiative is super innovative and it impacts really has this ambitious bit beyond just any.
Two questions to you, if I remember correctly.
Okay, thank you. The first question is related to the sustainability of what we are doing. As you could see throughout the process, women own the project, the process, because it's like we give the opportunity to the community to guide the research process. Everything we were doing is not written somewhere that we are is only that is based on action or actors oriented, and women defining what is important for them at a particular moment, and we do it and we try and it works. So women own the whole process, and any of you can go to this site, you will see that without any researcher in the area, they are sustaining, they are doing their business, they are trying to connect to different markets related to your question, not only locally, but try to, of course, they are asking for our support if you can get connection to different partners, different actors to make this, to extend the market. But of course, they really own the whole process, and they are really proud of continuing without any research funds. And related to the question of markets, is with the first point is the local, the village market that women are exploring, selling in the local market, using retailers, and these are things they are doing, but they are also targeting, the major cities of the country. This is where the use of the diaspora members came in. So we can rely on people who originated from those areas to serve as a focal point in a different area to also help to increase the market. But so far we have not thought about the export dimension of it, but this can come later, because what we want is that the community develop their activity and survive through it. So we are really open to continue supporting the community from far, even if the project come to an end.
Can you pass to Mel and Marcus? I think that one of the questions was to you.
Yeah, I would like to answer the question on the sustainability of the app. It has two parts. The first one is the usage of the app itself. And as you saw this waterfall diagram, we saw in the beginning that the usage was not so sustainable. So we put some effort in increasing the usability. We made some short videos which are included in the app now, which explain better what the app stands for, and we reduced the functionality. So we hope, we are in the process of retesting it now, that the usability will increase. And the second part of the answer is what happens after the project phase is out. And here we have, let's say, a deal with Calvary, which is the organization who programmed the app, that they will provide the space, the virtual space for the app also afterwards. And the app will be free of charge also afterwards. But Calvary can program add-ons. So for instance, let's say you want to follow a certain diet, and so you have to somehow readjust your initial demands for calories or for food diversity. So you can readjust the app, you can have the details, and this could then be sold to users. And so we hope that together with the NIN in Hyderabad and this deal, we will see the app working also 3 years after the project phase out.
Take the other one. This is a difficult question, actually. So I think this is one of the limitations of the project. It's directed mostly at urban middle-class consumers, who are the ones who are pretty much all of them having a smartphone. Also, one of the limitations that we're having at the moment is that it is only available for Android phones, not for Apple, because in the beginning of the study, the usage or the percentage of iOS density in India was very little, and actually it has increased a lot during the project phase now. And we are often having the problem now when acquiring urban middle-class consumers that we cannot have them as participants in the study because they use iPhones.
Thank you so much. We can start the second round. There was already one here. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's number one here.
Thank you very much. I also appreciate all the presenters, but I have questions for the two. On the traditional food, I was just wondering if you built in some entrepreneurial training for the women, because that's my concern, the entrepreneurial sustainability. the fact that they're producing and they're excited about it now does not mean that they make, I'm not saying they don't stop, but you need to do the entrepreneurial capacity. I don't know if that was included. And then the cost implications, how cheap is it? Finally, you showed us the cost of the branding, but we don't know about the nutritional content. What the product information that goes on it, you also need to know. Now, to the physical aspect, I was wondering if you disaggregated the over, particularly the people into different occupational responsibilities to check the level of physical activity work. And then number two, I think one of your recommendations sounds contrary to the information that you gave us. You said rural people are much more physically active and fit, but then you said cultural and something infrastructure stops women or limits rural women from being physically active. Are these women farmers? How do you define physical?
Maybe a short comment from my side. If you have questions specific on the presentations, maybe we can solve this in the corridors, just to leave more room for questions. Number two. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ken from the Center for Development Research. My question also goes to the Active presentation. So you showed that, if I saw correctly, health and nutrition literacy is highest among the obese and overweight. So why did you still go for an intervention targeting literacy or the knowledge aspect that seems contrary to your findings?
Number three was over yesterday.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Hi, Michael Eulermann from CIMIT. Thank you very much for the presentations. Now it's the focal round, I think, that's being targeted here in this round of questions. Very short questions. I've never seen in data collection, I think it's unusual that you also collect data on the physical fitness and physical activity. My question is very simple. How did you convince the people to do this test? What did you tell them? You come to me and tell me I have to run for 10 minutes. I would say, look, I'm really thank you, but no, I'll just answer the questionnaire, but please don't make me run. I would be curious to find out how you manage that. Thank you.
What was number four?
Thank you. I'm Catherine Krisma from the University of Bonn. I have a question to Mr. Head. Could you tell us a little more about the impact pathway that you have envisioned? Because honestly, I have problems to see how three-dimensional lines that are inflated and turned in a virtual space can help reduce obesity.
The number five, and the final one was where? You can pass it?
You can pass it.
Not slow.
I have also a question for the second presentation. You did a lot of outreach, and I was wondering if you monitored it, and if so, like looking back, which of the methods would you say, oh, they were very impactful, we would do that again, and which of the outreach methods were maybe not so helpful in getting your message out or in reaching people? Yeah.
Thank you. I think the first question was to you.
Yes, I think the first question was related to the entrepreneurship or business or management aspect. I think we did organize some training to the women entrepreneur, but we also partner with some actors who are very active in developing and startups or supporting women groups in the area. Like, for example, TechnoServe, building capacity of the community. So through them, we recently organized an exchange visit to some of the entrepreneurs who are already, successful, in managing the business, small scale business, and we visit them so women leaders can also be able to learn from their experience and also continue on that sense. So we did some training, and we also visited those who are successful, but still I think since they are in the beginning of the process, we still continue to support them, and this really will continue to provide, to build the capacity to manage more successfully what they are doing. So related to the packaging, I think I know, as I said, we have among the 4 food, we have 2 porridge, 1 stew, and 1 sweet. So the details of the inscriptions will be provided to you if you really want to.
You, I will answer the question from my brother there, because of the information provided that people with excellent food literacy are also obese. And this is why we were doing in multidisciplinary, so that we get more information on that. And we got this result that the higher the food literacy, people are obese. But since our intervention didn't only focus on food literacy alone, not knowledge on the food only, but we combine intervention. So as for now, we can recommend that if we want to do intervention, maybe in rural and urban Tanzania, food literacy intervention, it's better to consider socioeconomic status, food environment, and physical activity. So food literacy alone cannot work. So it's good to combine with physical activity area. That's why you get people who are obese are also have excellent food literacy. But if we combine with physical activity, they will get better.
Thanks, Victoria. I would also like to answer the 2 questions, one from there and the other from here in the middle. The first question, if I well understood your question, you were asking why there is a contrary that we found out there is a cultural and infrastructural barrier to physical activity in rural areas, while the result also indicated there is a higher physical activity in rural than in urban. There is a difference in across urban and rural, especially we used a questionnaire, GPAC questionnaire, which is a standardized questionnaire for physical activity. It analyzes 86 to get information, physical activity information from the individuals through in different settings, such as at work, home, transport, and during leisure time. So taking, for example, during leisure time, in urban areas, they have access to recreation facilities. They have vigorous physical activity at work during leisure time, but actually it is not more time than during work. Remember that during leisure time, it's only a few hours after a person came back from work. But in the rural areas, from morning to afternoon, sometimes to evening, is working hours for them. And majority of their work is farming. And not only at work, they do farming, which is vigorous activity for sure. They spend more hours doing this activity. Some of them, they go fetch water from far away from their home. It's not like in the urban areas where they get water from home. So these people, they get water, they get service far away from their home, which if you take the physical activity during their transport, which is mainly walking, so their level of physical activity is higher compared to urban. So maybe this project is very big, is transdisciplinary, and the team, the working group is bigger. I would maybe welcome any other member from the project who has more information to add on top of this.
But maybe you can maybe you can be brief because we are
Yes.
the end of our session.
I think you mentioned most of it, and I can just add that the barrier he meant was that women will not take part in physical activity as much in leisure time as there are cultural barriers. And I think this is an addition that is very important to make. I think that's your question, right?
I'm not sure if you have answered the question of him, or was it already?
Thank you for a reminder. Thank you very much. He asked me, how did we convince these people to participate in the fitness test? Actually, at the beginning, we asked the willingness of the participant to take part both in the questionnaire and the fitness part. And majority of people were interested to take part in the fitness test, and they took part in the fitness test. Thank you very much.
Okay, so there's one question.
Okay, so basically, these three-dimensional figure that you saw was actually an outcome of just a measurement. We wanted to see how the activity spaces look like of our participants, and then we integrated data from the app and saw the CO2 footprint. Actually, on the one hand, you have the app, and here you see what you consume, and this is compared to the Eat Lancet plate. And then you can try to come close to the Eat Lancet plate scores, like a game. So you try to decrease, for instance, the consumption of red meat in order to come closer to that. But the app does another thing, and this is it asks you questions about your emotions and about your feelings at the time you consume food, and also every morning, how you slept, for instance, in the evening, whom you met, and so on. So it provides, or it asks you about your psychological state of mind and mood. And when you combine now the information gathered by the app and this GPS data, then you see where people are moving, what they are consuming, and how they felt at the moment they consume this. And this is actually, we are very excited to triangulate this data, because then you come close to incidents like you're waiting for the bus or you're commuting and you start eating out of boredom, for instance. Or you are stressed out because you have some problems. The app doesn't know what the problems are, but you're stressed out. And so this has an effect on your consumption patterns. And so we have this combination of spatial data, emotional data, and nutrition. And we think that together we can have an impact on the nutritional patterns. And this also has then maybe an effect on decreasing obesity, because you know that you start eating in specific situations. And apart from that, you can maybe add on that, we have really fantastic pictures which can be used for increasing food literacy. Yeah, with these lines, they can be animated, they can be shown. We are currently working with an artist because it looks like a visceral part of the body, and then you have these bubbles, and you see, okay, here I have a huge CO2 imprint, for instance. What happened at that moment in time? In India, it's often a festival time when this happens, but there are of course also more pathological incidents, as I just described.
Maybe just 2 words on why it needs to be in 3D, because of course you might say, why do we need to make such a complicated animation? It's just because of the fact, because we're integrating the time also. We're trying to also not just look at the places where food is consumed, but also the times at when it is consumed. So we can identify, for example, in our data, the most prevalent meal time is at lunch. And there's the biggest footprint at lunchtime, so we can link the places and the times of this big food footprint. And then maybe also for city planning, give at some point recommendations to say, okay, the lunch times at this place are creating a huge CO2 impact. So it would make sense to maybe rent out those spaces for cheaper prices to restaurants which are actually providing sustainable lunches.
Thank you so much, colleagues. We definitely reached the end of this session. But before I end, I have to apologize. I failed as your moderator because I neglected all the questions that were asked online, and apologies, colleagues, for all who followed us online. I promise to do a better job next time. So sorry for that. Before I close, please all join me with a warm round of applause. Sharing your rich experience, your rich results, and your very great results with us. Thank you so much for taking the time. Colleagues, thank you so much for being here. I hope I see many of you next year. Same time, same session, email session. Don't forget, already mark it in your Hoover app. It'll be a nice next session, I promise. Thank you. It's a nice program card and it's for your conference. Thank you so much.